योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्नः अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं श्री स्वामीनारायण भगवाननी जय। अक्षर पुरुषोत्तम महाराजनी जय। गुणातीतानंद स्वामी महाराजनी जय। भगत जी महाराजनी जय। शास्त्री जी महाराजनी जय। योगी जी महाराजनी जय। प्रमुख स्वामी महाराजनी जय। महंत स्वामी महाराजनी जय। प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज शताब्दी महोत्सवनी जय। अक्षरधाम महोत्सवनी जय। As we all know, the coronavirus outbreak has caused many businesses to be put on pause, causing millions of workers to be displaced. Sports leagues are no exception to this. On March 11th, the NBA announced that the season would be suspended indefinitely. The financial well-being of many arena workers and team staff who live paycheck to paycheck were put at risk. When the Philadelphia 76ers revealed that they would be slashing their employees' pay by 20%, Joel Embiid, their star player, stepped up and donated $500,000 to the coronavirus relief efforts and to those team workers who had their salaries reduced. A few weeks earlier, when Washington State was the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States, and the state's economy had taken a hit, Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson donated 1 million meals to Food Lifeline, a local food bank in Seattle, to help with the relief efforts. After 3 million restaurant workers lost their jobs, Food Network star Guy Fieri partnered with the National Restaurant Association to raise $100 million to help displaced workers as well. These are just 3 examples of great initiative and service done in the last few months. Many other athletes, celebrities, politicians, and of course brave frontline healthcare workers have been engaging themselves in similar types of selfless service to help with our current crisis. Society seeks to celebrate these deeds as inspiring examples of selfless humanity, especially when the world can otherwise feel so selfish. However, without regarding public perception, Bhagwan Swaminarayan explains in Vachnamrit Garda section 2, number 41, that it is in the nature of people to enjoy only what serves their personal vanity, even when performing acts of service or seva. For our benefit, in this Vachnamrit, Maharaj outlines 3 points of awareness so that we can do our seva with the right intent. We don't have to change anything physically. We just have to flip 3 switches in our mind and then everything becomes seva. Maharaj states, when a person who wishes to worship God receives an opportunity to serve God and his devotees, or do seva, he should do so with 3 things in mind. First, with mehima, or serve them considering it to be their great fortune. Second, with rajipo, perform the action only for the sake of pleasing God. And third, with humility, not for the sake of receiving praise from others. To help us better understand how we can incorporate these sentiments, let's take inspiration from Yogiji Maharaj, who always had these 3 switches flipped on. Once Yogiji Maharaj was traveling by train to Bochasan. Every station the train stopped at, devotees would flock to his compartment to greet him and to do his darshan. A young man who was traveling on the train saw this from far away and was curious to know why so many people were attracted to him. He came to Yogiji Maharaj and offered his respects. Yogiji Maharaj asked him, "Who are you?" The youth replied, "I'm originally from Palanpur, but my family lives in Kolkata and runs a tea business there, and I'm on my way to London to further my education." The young man then asked Yogiji Maharaj, "Everybody's attracted to you. What makes you so popular? What's the secret to your charismatic personality?" The youth thought that Yogiji Maharaj would list off a lot of qualities which made him popular. However, Yogiji Maharaj replied, I acquired this quality by scrubbing utensils and through the grace of my guru, Shastriji Maharaj. Knowing that cleaning utensils would seem unimpressive, Yogiji Maharaj was subtly emphasizing how essential it was to do seva with humility, for Rajipo, and with Mema. When once asked about why he had such an intense desire to selflessly serve others with these sentiments, Yogiji Maharaj said that he kept the lives of Sriji Maharaj, Gunaditanand Swami, Bhagatji Maharaj, Shastriji Maharaj, and other senior sadhus and devotees as examples. He proceeded to list out incidents that inspired him. He said Parvat Bey agreed to become a servant of Dada Kachar. Raja Bey plowed Parvat Bey's fields. Muktanand Swami used to drive Mura Kachar's plow. Once Gunatitanand Swami was passing through the district of Bhal. He had 30 sadhus with him. It started raining, and the santos' shoes became wet and caked with mud. Gunatitanand Swami collected all of those shoes, wrapped them into 2 bundles. He placed that luggage, which weighed 40 kilograms, on his head and walked another 7.5 miles to their destination. Once, Shastriji Maharaj walked 90 miles to get Mesu before Bhagatji Maharaj. He walked from Dholera to Nawada, all the way to Garda in pouring rain. He could have easily written a letter and asked for it or sent someone, but he wanted to do this seva himself. Sriji Maharaj used to wash the sadhus' clothes in Lodge. Muktanand Swami himself used to visit neighboring villages of Lodge to beg for alms. Gunatitanand Swami used to sweep the courtyard of Junagadh Mandir daily, even though he was the Mahant. Selfless seva was second nature to Yogiji Maharaj, and so it was easy for him to cite these examples from satsang's rich history as sources for his inspiration. Regardless of whose seva he was doing, when or where he was doing it, Yogiji Maharaj had these 3 switches flipped on all the time. These sentiments, or his Seva Bhavna, are what defined his greatness. Humility, the first switch which Maharaj mentions, is one of the qualities we should have while serving others. Doing seva without having the expectation of receiving praise from others. This switch was always on for Yogiji Maharaj. In 1966, Yogiji Maharaj was in Gondal. Everyone was sleeping. Yogiji Maharaj woke up early at 3 a.m. that morning and decided to sneak out of his room without waking anyone up around him. He then proceeded to the kitchen and cleaned the entire kitchen. After cleaning the kitchen, Yogiji Maharaj went to the courtyard of the mandir and he started sweeping. Due to a sudden noise, one of his sevaks woke up and found Yogiji Maharaj was not sleeping, and he eventually found him sweeping all by himself in the courtyard. The sevak immediately went to Yogiji Maharaj to stop him. However, Yogiji Maharaj persisted that he be allowed to finish his seva. મને સેવા કરવાનું બહુ મન થાય છે, પણ મને કોઈ કરવા દેતું નથી. These are the words that Yogiji Maharaj uttered. This prasang gives us an inside look into how Yogiji Maharaj thought. One thing we can see is that great people choose to do things that are important rather than things that are popular. If something is important, you will find time and create the circumstances to do it, no matter what the obstacles are. Serving others was incredibly important to Yogiji Maharaj. He was alert not to miss out on those opportunities. There was a similar incident that took place on another occasion in Gondal. Dharmaswarup Swami used to put all of the dirty utensils in a corner of the kitchen in the morning so that when the designated youths would come in the afternoon to clean them, they knew where they were. However, one day Yogiji Maharaj went into the kitchen all by himself and he cleaned all of the utensils. When the youths assigned to clean the utensils went into the kitchen at 3:30 p.m., they were all shocked to find that the utensils had already been cleaned. They asked, "Who cleaned all of these?" Yogiji Maharaj laughingly replied, "Maybe the devtas came and cleaned them." If you have ever introspected on this topic of humility, you may recall how sad it feels to remember a time when you couldn't resist the urge to tell others of what you had achieved. Yogiji Maharaj teaches us how we can combat this urge by not expecting recognition, but by happily passing on unexpected praise to others. In the Yogi Gita, Yogiji Maharaj sums up his sentiment of humility where he says, "I'm ever ready to wash dishes from the beginning. I dislike being a guru, but I enjoy being a servant." Another sentiment which Maharaj mentions we should have while serving is doing seva for the sake of pleasing God or for Rajipo. This mental switch was also always on for Yogiji Maharaj. While he was still a Parshad in Junagadh, Yogiji Maharaj extended his scope of his seva by learning a special skill called Kalaikam. In those days, brass vessels were used as utensils. Lead had to be melted and then coated into a heated brass vessel to give a thin layer which people could eat from. A devotee by the name of Bhagwan Bey would blow the bellows and Yogiji Maharaj would galvanize the utensils. It required speed and skill. If they waited a second too long, then either the vessel or lead would cool and not stick. If the lead was not layered thin and evenly, bubbles would form and pop, leaving gaps. After he would kalay a vessel, he would show it to Bhagwan Bey and ask, "Swami Raji Thashe? Will Swami be pleased?" The desire to please his guru was always at the forefront of his mind. Many years later, Yogiji Maharaj happened to stop by one day where a group of youths were cleaning utensils in Gondal. He knelt down and picked up a dish from the clean pile and ran his finger over it. It was still sticky, so he pointed this out to them. One of the yuaks replied, "It's okay, Bapa. This is just a utensil used by devotees." Yogiji Maharaj replied, "Doesn't God eat from within those devotees?" Implying that all of the utensils should be cleaned as if they were being cleaned for God. By seeing God in everyone and everything, Yogiji Maharaj was able to serve for the sake of pleasing his guru and God. Serving others, considering it to be our great fortune, was the last switch which Yogiji Maharaj always had flipped, and which Bhagwan Swaminarayan mentions in this Vachanamrut. There are hundreds of such incidents in Yogiji Maharaj's life where this sentiment can be seen. Let's take a look at a few. Once Yogiji Maharaj was in Gondal, and around 10:30 p.m. Cheshta had just finished, and all of the devotees were coming up to do Yogiji Maharaj's darshan and get his ashirvad. A devotee by the name of Arjun Bey was in the assembly waiting darshan. While he was waiting, he quietly told another devotee how he needed to be at the train station at 4 a.m. He then also added that he wouldn't be able to wake up that early. Yogiji Maharaj was far and couldn't hear what was going on, but he was able to see that Arjun Bey was stressed. So when Arjun Bey came to do darshan, Yogiji Maharaj immediately asked Arjun Bey, "Guru Shuche?" Arjun Bey explained his dilemma, and Yogiji Maharaj replied by telling him not to stress and that he would wake him up in the morning. Arjun Bey tried to get Yogiji Maharaj not to take on this hardship. However, Yogiji Maharaj kept persisting and told Arjun Bey to go to sleep. Yogiji Maharaj then woke up at 2:30 a.m. He got ready, and then he woke up Arjun Bey at 3 a.m. Swami brought Arjun Bey datan and 2 buckets of hot water to bathe with. Arjun Bey was ashamed that his guru at the age of 66 was doing this kind of seva for him. Yogiji Maharaj started to comfort Arjun Bey and told him not to think about it in that manner. Once he got ready, Yogiji Maharaj opened up the Akshardheri so that he could do darshan there. And then Swami gave him breakfast and packed food for his trip. Yogiji Maharaj had also told a yuak the night before to wake up early so he could help drop him off at the train station. As he was leaving, Arjun Bey fell to his knees with tears in his eyes, and he did Panchang Pranam to Yogiji Maharaj. He said, "Swami, tame mara mate bahut taklif vethi." Yogiji Maharaj got Arjun Bey's hand, picked him up, and laughingly said, "Guru, tame to Shastriji Maharaj na krupa patra cho." Are we alert enough to instantly put down the controller, unprompted, so that mom and dad don't have to carry the groceries into the house? Yogiji Maharaj saw this opportunity to serve Shastriji Maharaj's devotee as a blessing. He never squandered a chance when presented with one. Something for us to think about. Once Yogiji Maharaj went with some sadhus and devotees to bathe at Narayan Ghat in Ahmedabad. At that time, Kothari Babu Bhai was bathing, and after he was done, he was changing his dhotyu. Yogiji Maharaj got a hold of his wet dhotyu which was lying on the ground and said, "Let me wash your clothes." Babu Bhai was taken aback by the offer. He took hold of his dhoti and said, "How can you wash it, Yogiji Maharaj?" Yogiji Maharaj replied, "How can I forgo this opportunity to serve a Mahamukta like you, who has devoted his entire life to Shastriji Maharaj?" Yogiji Maharaj's Mahima Drishti not only motivated his own seva, it uplifted everyone he met. It didn't matter if you were 50 years younger, 10 times more educated, or born thousands of miles away. Everyone who met him left a better person. Another such prasang occurred when Shastriji Maharaj's 85th birthday celebrations were being held in Atladra. Many people had come, and finding a place to sleep was a problem. C.T. Patel had arrived at 11 p.m. that day from Mombasa and was looking for a spot to sleep. He looked for around 30 minutes, but he couldn't find a spot. He finally wandered into the kitchen where he found Yogiji Maharaj doing mala. Yogi Bapa asked, "Are you having trouble finding a spot to sleep?" And C.T. Kaka replied with another question. He said, "Bapa, why are you still awake?" And Yogiji Maharaj smiled and said, "It's Shastriji Maharaj's birthday we're celebrating, and many devotees have come, and sometimes late at night, they have no place to sleep, and that's why I'm still awake to help them." Saying this, he got up and found a place for C.T. Patel to sleep. With his consistent approach, Yogi Bapa turned Mahima Drishti into a finely tuned skill. He made it his business to know what made devotees great, and he let this knowledge consume him and his seva. Through all of these incidents, Yogiji Maharaj revealed the Satpurusha's greatness lies in simple acts of service. But from Maharaj's message in Vachanamrut Garada section 2, number 41, we can conclude that these simple acts were made extraordinary by the sentiments behind them. For us, our time at home currently provides us so many avenues for personal development. A simple act of helping with the dishes, cleaning parts of the house, or unexpectedly delivering fresh laundry to family members provides ways to subtly build mutual love and respect. But if we do it with the 3 switches on, of humility, Rajipo, and Mahima, we can model our life from the one lived by Yogiji Maharaj and our Gurus Pramukh Sai Maharaj and Mahan Sai Maharaj. Who knew that simple house chores could deepen our spiritual connection with Bhagwan and the Satpurush? Yogiji Maharaj knew, and now we do too. Let's pray that we too can also instill these sentiments into our lives and please our Gurus. Shri Swaminarayan Bhagwanini Jai.
એટલે કહેવામાં કે એવું જીવન જ હતું કે એમની જે વાત છે એ વાતથી દરેકના હૃદયમાં શાંતિ થતી, અને કોઈ પણ રીતે કોઈ માણસ આવ્યો એનો પ્રસંગમાં, તે પ્રસંગને અંદર એમને જે કંઈ અનુભવ થયો એ ભૂલી જ ના શકાય. દરેક કોઈને થાપો માર્યો હોય તો એને એમ થાય કે મને બાપાએ થાપો માર્યો મારું કામ થયું. કેટલાક તો ખાસ થાપો લેવા માટે સ્પેશિયલ આવતા કે જોગી બાપાનો થાપો ખાઈએ એટલે આપણું કામ થઈ જાય, અને એ આપતા અને કામ હોય થતું. પછી એવું નતું થતું, દરેકને એમ છે. એટલે એવા પણ લોકોને અનુભવ થયા. કોઈને જોગીબાનું હાસ્ય ગમી ગયું કે જોગીબા તો હાસ્ય બહુ જ કરતા હતા ને, આપણે જોઈએ છે ને. પેલા આપણે ક્યાં હતા? મૂળશંકર વ્યાસ હતા, અને જાંબિયાના લુસાકાની અંદર સરકારના બહુ મુખ્ય માણસ હતા. એને નંદાજી સાથે એક વખત આવ્યા દર્શન કરવા માટે, હાવ નવા રજાના કંઈ એમને બહુ પરિચય નહોતો. પણ જોગી બાપાનું એવું હાસ્ય જોયું એટલે હાસ્યમાંથી એને એના જીવમાં કહીએ જોગીબાનું હાસ્ય મેં દુનિયામાં કોઈનું હાસ્ય જોયું નથી, એવું એમનું હાસ્ય લાગ્યું. એટલે દરેક ક્રિયા એમની એવી રહી, બોલવાની, રીત કરવાની, વાલ કરવાની. બધા આવે એને પછી માથે હાથ ફેરવે, કોનમાં ઓમ કરે, ઓમ કરે, એવું વાલ કરે કે આપણે સહેજે સહેજે એમાં એ થઈ જવાય. અને એ રીતે એમને આ કરીશ. સત્સંગીઓને પણ દરેકને કંઈક બોલાવે, કંઈક એનો પ્રશ્ન હોય તો ધીરે સાંભળે, કરે, અને એ વાત કરે એટલે એને પેલા શ્રદ્ધા થાય કે મારું કામ થઈ જશે. એટલે એ ભાલ કરવાની, હિત કરવાની રીત એકની જબરજસ્ત હતી, ભગવાનનો ગુણ. એટલે ભગવાન એમના દ્વારા આ બધું કાર્ય હંમેશને માટે કરતા હતા. દરેકના પ્રશ્નોનું નિરાકરણ પણ એમને બહુ સારી રીતે શાંતિથી કરી નાખે. કોઈકને પેશાબ કરવા જતા હોય તો ત્યાં આમ હાથ ઝાલીને લઈ જાય ને ત્યાં વાત કરીને એનું કામ પતી જાય. કોઈને વળી જમવા બેઠા હોય ત્યાં વાત કરીને પતી જાય. એમ જુદી જુદી રીતે મોટરમાં બેસાડીને વાત કરીને કામ પતી જાય. કોઈને વળી બીજી રીતે પણ આમ કરીને સભામાંથી ઉઠીને જાય, સભા બેઠા હોય તો પણ ઉઠીને જઈને બોલાવીને વાત કરી લે. એટલે એમને વાત એ જ કરવાની, સત્સંગની સેવા કરાવવાની આવી અનેક રીતો હતી. ટપાલથી પણ એવું લખી દે કે એને પેલાને મનમાં શ્રદ્ધા થઈ જાય. એમાં તો એમના ઘણા પ્રસંગો છે, બધા સાંભળ્યા સંતોના. એટલે સ્વામીને દરેકના ઉપર એવું એ થતું